Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, takeover news, and chit chat show where I go through your chats and we have general discussions about what's going on at United. Now, Manchester United earlier today put out a pathetic nothing statement on Antony, basically put out a statement to say they are doing nothing. So they put out a statement for no reason, and I thought there's no point in me doing a video saying United put out a statement on Antony because it's just a nothing story. There's no point making a video for the sake of views or anything like that. But we will get into Antony's statement at some point in this live stream. But this live stream is more focusing on Sancho. The Sancho situation doesn't seem to be dying down. Sancho has pinned the tweet to his Twitter profile. He's kept the tweet there. He's staying strong on his stance. And the only way the Sancho thing dies down, from what I'm hearing, is essentially if he is willing to make up with Ten Hag about it, because Ten Hag's not happy. Ten Hag feels that he dropped Sancho for his own good. He thinks that he can get the better out of Sancho and that Sancho needs to learn how to work harder. But Sancho seems to be staying stubborn with that. And there's some more drama and stuff coming out. And there's some leaks coming out that apparently, and I'm going to say take these leaks with a pinch of salt, because Man United do like to create negativity to distract people from the Glazers. But there are leaks coming out that certain players have fallen out with Sancho and that Man United players aren't happy with Sancho and all of this. Now, I will say with those leaks, I think that sometimes United's team deliberately put out leaks on a certain player to try and turn fans against the player. As a distraction from the Glazers. And, you know, I think a lot of leaks that do come out that are negative on a player probably comes out from United side and United's briefing side. So I would say with those leaks, you know, I wouldn't use it as an opportunity to turn on Sancho. I don't think Sancho's attitude and behaviour is being the best. I understand his frustration, sometimes at lack of minutes, but I don't think he's dealt it the right way. And there's a little bit of drama on that case. And the situation just seems to, unfortunately, be getting worse and worse. But we will get into that in a second and exactly what was said as well. But I think with these leaks that the Man United players are annoyed at Sancho, I just think I don't like it. I don't like it because I think United are deliberately leaking that stuff. I think someone around Murta is deliberately leaking that kind of stuff to get a bit of a negative reaction to Sancho, to kind of distract people, to turn people on Sancho, and take the focus away from the takeover. Man United have a reputation of they used to put out leaks that Paul Pogba had done this and that. And I am team Ten Hag over team Sancho because, you know, the manager has the most authority. And although I understand Jadon Sancho's frustration at not playing a lot, you know, if Jadon Sancho's not hitting the levels in training, then, you know, and Ten Hag punishes him for that, he needs to get on with it. You know, Garnacho got punished for being late, Rashford got punished for being late, they got on with it. Wan-Bissaka got shut out, he got on with it. And Sancho reportedly did the same at England and Dortmund. So I don't think Ten Hag's lying with that case. So I will get that story up as well. But I don't think the whole situation's been handled well. I don't think Ten Hag should have called him out publicly. But then someone said, what is Ten Hag meant to do? He was asked a question, is Ten Hag meant to lie? You know, if Ten Hag had said he was ill, maybe Sancho would have gone, he's lying, I wasn't ill, this is why. You know, it's all of those things. Maybe Ten Hag should have said he was ill, but again, you just don't know if Sancho would have come up with a statement saying he's lying. If he said he was ill, you just don't know what Sancho would have done. We've got a few other stories to talk about. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about regarding Facundo Pellistri, guys. Facundo Pellistri could be having a big chance at United, and I actually did a thread today talking about Pellistri, what he's going to add. And then later on in this live stream, we're going to go into depth about what Ten Hag's plan is to do, because it looks like there's no way back for Jadon Sancho, because essentially the only way back for Jadon Sancho is he makes up with Ten Hag, he apologises. From what I'm hearing, this doesn't seem to be the case. They will have talks next week, Sancho and Ten Hag, but Sancho doesn't seem to be wanting to back down. Ten Hag's not going to back down, and if Sancho's going to act like this, then Ten Hag isn't going to play him. But if I am Jadon Sancho, as annoyed as I am, if I'm Jadon Sancho, I think, you know what, swallow your pride, apologise to the manager, because Antony might be going. The only way you can leave now is if you go to Saudi Arabia or Turkey, and you won't last a minute in Saudi Arabia, and I don't think he wants to play in Turkey. So if I'm Jadon Sancho, you know, just make up with the manager for the sake of it, even if you don't mean it, which sounds bad. But it's like, because otherwise he's just going to be at the club and not played and then sold in January. Now, what United have reportedly done have got a January signing ready in Marcus Leonardo. Now, we will get into that. The reason I don't like talking about the Marcus Leonardo story is just because the January window is in January. It's so far away that I'm not particularly interested in talking about transfers. However, we have been consistently linked to Marcus Leonardo, and it would be easier for us to sign him in January because his Brazilian team that he plays for, Sao Paulo, weren't willing to sell him in the summer. An inside source said that this player that United wanted to sign in the summer, they couldn't because they weren't willing to sell him in the summer. They will sell him in January. Looks like Jadon Sancho, January exit incoming. We've got a bit of cash left over. McTominay's also been put up for sale in January as well. it looks like Glazer's here or Glazer's not. United is still willing to do business in January. McTominay's up for sale. Sancho could be up for sale in January. And Marcus Leonardo is lined up, who's not necessarily a Sancho replacement, but the way Ten Hag views Sancho is playing him centrally. Ten Hag sees, our left-wing options as Garnacho and Rashford. He sees our right-wing options as Antony and Pellistri. And he saw the centre-forward options as Martial, Hojlund and Sancho. So effectively, Marcus Leonardo is more of a Martial/Sancho replacement. So we'll get into that because apparently United are preparing a 20 million euro offer for the star, which I find quite mind-blowing as well. Alex says, no issue removing Sancho. Never viewed him as an Eric Ten Hag player. Should have been sold in the summer so we can replace. And you know what? I agree with Alex here. I like Jadon Sancho, but it was very obvious Ten Hag wanted him sold in the summer. And I will, the United Muppeteers that get a lot of inside information spoke about this. Thank you very much, Ronan, for joining the members club. Big up, Ronan. Smash a like for Ronan. But the United Muppeteers who get inside source from inside Man United, they did a video. And they said in the summer that actually Jadon Sancho was one of those names up for sale. Eric Ten Hag was very open to selling Jadon Sancho if the right price came in. Jadon Sancho's always been up for sale. Chelsea and Spurs expressed an interest. United would like 50 million upwards of Jadon Sancho just because they saw that Chelsea got 65 million for Kai Havertz. So they thought, well, surely Sancho is kind of in that same bracket as Kai Havertz. Great Bundesliga player, cost about £70 million. Not quite lived up to it, but obviously Chelsea are a better selling club, so 65 million for Chelsea is about 50 million for United. So United had Sancho up, but it was obvious that they weren't going to get 50 million for him. There wasn't a lot of suitors, and basically Ten Hag said, well, I want a new winger and I want Sancho sold. And the board essentially said to Ten Hag, if you sell Sancho, we can't afford a replacement. The Man United owners, they said, if you sell Sancho, we can't afford a replacement, because realistically, because we're so bad at selling, and this comes back to the ownership, this comes back to how bad Man United run. Well, what's happened deep in United is because we're so bad at selling, we know that if we sold Sancho, we'd probably sell him for about 40 million quid. You see Cole Palmer going for 45 million quid, who's never scored a Premier League goal. You see Lewis Hall going for 35 million quid, who again, I think they're great young players. You see Kai Havertz going for 65 million quid, and I guarantee you Man United would get about 35 million quid for Sancho. And Ten Hag knows that because United is so bad at selling. So the board basically said, well, if you sell Sancho, you're not really going to have the funds to replace him, because I'm sure Ten Hag would like the likes of Kvaratskhelia or Rafael Leao, someone that's going to be in that 60, 70 million region, probably someone at Ajax as well. I know Kudus was a player of interest for Ten Hag who's gone to West Ham. So essentially Ten Hag was kind of forced to stick with Sancho, who he actually wasn't too keen on keeping this summer anyway. So despite things looking good for Sancho in pre-season, him having a good pre-season, Ten Hag's always been open to selling the player, and he's always been viewed behind the likes of Antony, behind the likes of Garnacho, behind the likes of Rashford, because he's not a transition-based player. He's not an Eric Ten Hag player. And I think the fact that Sancho knows that he's not really that high up in Ten Hag's pecking order, Ten Hag doesn't seem to like him, has frustrated Sancho. And, it's caused issues in the dressing room. It's caused player unhappiness in the dressing room. Reportedly some Man United players are getting a little bit frustrated with this situation. But again, I do take a lot of those leaks with a pinch of salt. It seems to be causing some kind of unrest in the dressing room. And I think your Jadon Sancho, you're not wanted, but I've said this before, and I'm only going to say it one more time again. Wan-Bissaka was shut off. Wan-Bissaka this time a year ago was shut off. Wan-Bissaka played 4 minutes of football for Man United before the World Cup, 4 minutes, and only got a chance because Dalot got injured. Wan-Bissaka got a chance off limited minutes, took his chance, never looked back. Jadon Sancho could be getting his chance because Antony's not been suspended yet, but United declined to comment on if Antony is coming back. So United are weighing up an investigation on Antony. But Jadon Sancho doesn't want to do the Wan-Bissaka, keep quiet. And you know what? I know that I'm not the manager's kind of player, but I might find my way. Wan-Bissaka was never a Ten Hag player. Ten Hag didn't want Wan-Bissaka. Ten Hag wanted Wan-Bissaka sold. He couldn't sell Wan-Bissaka, so he's kept, but he didn't play. And then Wan-Bissaka played once. He took his chance. Then Wan-Bissaka said, I got my head down in training. I worked really hard. And he got another chance because he worked really hard in training. All of this stuff that happened with Wan-Bissaka could happen with Sancho, because Sancho, isn't a Ten Hag player, but either was Wan-Bissaka, who's getting a new contract. But Sancho needs to get his head down. But right now, it means there's a really good opportunity for Facundo Pellistri that I do want to get into. There's really big chances coming for Facundo Pellistri. Scott says too much drama in the dressing room, not great, obviously, as well. Yeah, way too much drama. And Sancho is still part of the squad, but it's believed that United are already eyeing up replacements for Jadon Sancho in January as well. And we have to say, everyone smashed that like button for Wan-Bissaka's attitude. You know what? Because, a lot of things are against Wan-Bissaka, but his response and attitude, I've been really impressed with. So smash that like button for Wan-Bissaka. And Nay says Facundo really deserves a run of matches in the squad, and that's really impacted now he didn't go out on loan. I like Facu, and hopefully we'll have a good run at Uruguay this international break. He plays regularly for Uruguay in the international break, and Uruguay are good size. It's not like he's being picked for Zimbabwe in the international break, and he's an international from Zimbabwe. No offense if you're from Zimbabwe, but I know you don't have the best footballing side. I do have a Zimbabwe shirt that I got sent, though. Nice football shirt. It's not like he's from Zimbabwe. He's from Uruguay. Uruguay are a really good footballing side with really good attackers, you know. And that's what Uruguay are about. And he's getting picked up for Uruguay. He's playing for Uruguay. He was playing at the World Cup. He was good for Uruguay. You know, he's clearly rated by those in Uruguay. I know that he didn't have the best loan spell in terms of outputs in Spain, but again, he was a good player. And I think it's time for Pellistri to get a chance. And reports are coming out that with Antony's future uncertain, United have put a statement out on Antony today, and then United put an absolute nothing statement out on Antony today, basically saying a whole load of nothing. But in that statement, and as it was said today, not in that statement, but as it was reported after the statement came out, reporters have gone to United and asked, okay, so is Antony going to be in the squad? Is Antony going to play? United declined to comment on the fact if Antony's going to play or be involved with the squad after the international break. United have declined to comment on the whole situation, but they've not actually confirmed if Antony will come back. With the way things are going between Sancho and Ten Hag, the way that the whole situation is, that Sancho seems to not be too interested in making up with Ten Hag, that means, well, Sancho's not going to play, because Sancho can annoy Ten Hag, but if he makes up with Ten Hag, he's apologetic, he gets his head down, I think Ten Hag would give him another chance if Antony doesn't come back. But reportedly, Sancho doesn't seem to be wanting to do that, pinning his tweet now to his Twitter, standing firm with his tweet as well. That is now a big chance for Facundo Pellistri. Obviously, there's an opportunity to play Mason Mount right wing, Bruno Fernandes right wing. And I tell you this now, if we dare play Bruno Fernandes right wing to accommodate Mount or Eriksen as a number 10, I love Ten Hag, but I cannot back him on that. I absolutely love Ten Hag, but I could not back him on that one bit as well. And I want to talk about Facundo Pellistri quickly, because I want to talk about a little post I did on Facundo Pellistri and United attacking options. But I said today in my tweet, and I'm trying to relate some of my live streams to my tweets so I can have a conversation with you guys, because I think while the transfer news is a bit quiet, it's quite nice to have a live stream where we have a conversation about things. But obviously I've got some news to get into on Marcus Leonardo. I've got some news to get on Antony, and I've got a really interesting news story on the Glazers to get into in a second. But I quickly wanted to read this out because I was sort of talking about Pellistri today, and it's going to be a big opportunity for him. And I said this on Pellistri. I said, Facundo Pellistri has had limited minutes at Manchester United, but whenever he has played, he has always impressed me and offered something different to our other right-wing options. He's a very strong dribbler who likes to take on his left-back one-on-one and try to create something out of nothing. He looks to cross the ball and create something rather than cut in and shoot like many of our other wingers. He's got a good first touch, good decision-making skills, and always works hard defensively, which is something that Ten Hag values highly. His ability to go down the byline, take on his man, and put crosses in could work well with Hojlund's box presence. I really think Pellistri is going to work well with Hojlund. I really do. Let me know your thoughts on that, because I think Antony cuts in. He doesn't really create for a striker. We've seen Hojlund's brilliant physical presence versus Arsenal, and we're going to talk about Hojlund's performance versus Arsenal in a second and what he adds. But I think, Pellistri would really work well with Hojlund. And I said this, and I haven't seen anyone mention this, but I was thinking this earlier, and I don't know what you guys think, so do let me know. But I said Arteta moved away from playing big money signings. You know, Aubameyang was sometimes playing on the wing, Lacazette, Pepe, particularly Pepe, who Arsenal signed for big money. They were the big names, but they would continue being inconsistent and disappointing at Arsenal. And he gave those minutes to Smith Rowe, Saka, and Martinelli instead. Players that were young and hungry. Players that at the time weren't as good as the Aubameyang and Pepe's, but they were young and hungry. And that really benefited Arsenal. So potentially United giving more minutes to likes of Garnacho, Ahmed, and Pellistri, I think could really benefit United. It was also said with Antony and Sancho's form very inconsistent and future uncertain, I would like to see Pellistri get more chances instead of someone like Bruno out of position at right wing. You know, 100%. I mean, smash the like button if you agree with me. Would you rather see Pellistri at right wing or Bruno at right wing? I love Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, I think, is one of Manchester United's best players. He can be frustrating at times, but he's no doubt in my mind one of our best players. But I will tell you this now, I do not want to see Bruno Fernandes play right wing. I want to see him bang in the middle for Manchester United, nowhere near the right wing. And I think a lot of you guys would agree on that. And I think for me, Pellistri would be the ideal guy to play right wing. So I said for me, this is why I want to see Pellistri add something different. Could be like Arteta when he moved towards Martinelli. I think Pellistri could be our Martinelli, young, unknown player that came from South America, particularly cheap, you know, and then Garnacho's like the Saka, the academy boy that kind of breaks through as well. And I said, look, Pellistri's end product needs to improve. You know, he doesn't get a lot of goals, but there's no doubt in my mind his ability to get a lot of assists. But he's a very different kind of winger. And I want to quickly touch upon this on Pellistri before I get into some news. But Pellistri is a very different kind of winger because essentially with Pellistri, he doesn't get the highest goals, but he's an old-fashioned winger. And I like that. I think we've got modern wingers at United. We've got, left footers playing on the right and right footers playing on the left. But Pellistri's a right footer that likes to play on the right. He's an old school winger. He's someone that can add balance to the squad. He's also someone that's got quite good retention stats. He doesn't give the ball away sillily. And I think with us giving the ball away a lot in the final third, Pellistri could be very valuable. So I said, while his end product needs to improve, he needs to get more goals. Part of that is because he's more of an assist maker. I think he's got good potential there for United. So do let me know your thoughts on Pellistri as well. But it's reported that he is going to probably get a run of games now, because right now it doesn't look like Sancho and Ten Hag are going to be making up anytime soon, which would then put Pellistri second choice right wing behind Antony. Now, I did read something today about Garnacho potentially being trialled at right wing. And you know what? I'm all for it. And I love Garnacho, and I think he's a left winger. But this is how I feel. Your best player has to play in their position. If we've got Marcus Rashford and we've got Garnacho, you don't play Rashford on the right to play Garnacho on the left, because Rashford is better than Garnacho. And I love Garnacho. For me, you don't play Bruno on the right to accommodate Mount in the middle. You don't play Rashford in the middle to accommodate Garnacho on the left. And you don't play Rashford on the right to accommodate Garnacho on the left. You play Rashford in his best position, which is the left. You play Bruno in his best position, which is central. And then it will be Mason Mount or Garnacho that will have to go out wide on the right wing, because the best players need to play in their best position. But Bukayo Saka doesn't play striker or doesn't play left wing for Arsenal because, I don't know, let's say all of a sudden Martinelli's better on the right wing. He doesn't. And I think for me, that's the one criticism I have of Ten Hag, is let's not be moving Bruno and Rashford out of position, who, let's be honest, I don't think Bruno and Rashford had a great game versus Arsenal, but 80% or 77% of Manchester United's goals last season came through Bruno or Rashford. When we played Nottingham Forest, all 3 goals Bruno and Rashford were involved in. They were arguably the 2 best players. When Bruno and Rashford play in their natural position, they play their best. And when Bruno and Rashford play their best, we win the game. Bruno and Rashford are the 2 players that we have in the Man United squad that certain fans don't like because they're not, technical. But they're the 2 players in the Man United squad that probably, as an attacker, have the most impact. So for me, you can't play them out of position to accommodate someone else. So there is talks maybe Garnacho being trialled at right wing, which I would like to see. I know he is a left winger. I know he's direct, but I would really like to see what Garnacho can offer at right wing. He also came on at Arsenal kind of as a right winger. And for me, Garnacho scored that goal. I know it's offside, but he did have an impact when he came on versus Arsenal. There's no doubt in my mind, offside or not. And, there's Hojlund. And I'm really excited to see Garnacho on the right, Rashford on the left, Hojlund up top. I think it can work. I don't know what your thoughts are, but Garnacho on the right, Hojlund up the rest, Hojlund up top, Rashford on the left. I really think it can work, and I'd like to see that. I'd also like to see Pellistri given a chance on the right, because I think he's the type of winger that will work well with Hojlund as well. Alex B says January is a long time away to replace, especially with a super thin squad already as well. Yeah, the only trouble, and we are going to get into transfer news in a second. There is a few stories coming out on Marcus Leonardo, is that he is lined up for January, and unfortunately we have to wait for January to replace Sancho. And the situation I don't want, and the situation that's looking most like happening as things stand and hopefully changes, is Sancho gets frozen out of the squad and sold for cheap in January, and United go and bring someone else in. But I don't think we can wait till January. Unfortunately, we have to wait till January because we can't sign anyone. But I really need the Sancho situation to fix itself, because as good as Pellistri is, as good as Amad Diallo is, with the injuries we have, I do think Sancho could have some use on the right wing. I do think Sancho can have some use at centre forward. Worst case scenario, we don't have Sancho, we don't have Antony. I trust Pellistri to step up. I trust Amad Diallo to step up when he's back from injury. But I worry that, Ten Hag's going to play Bruno on the right wing. Play Mount on the right wing, but I don't want to be seeing Bruno Fernandes play on the right wing one bit. I really don't want to see Bruno Fernandes play on the right wing one bit. I just don't like it. But let's get into some transfer news, people, and then I will get into a few chats in the live chat as well. Let me know if there's anyone you'd like United to sign in January realistically to replace Sancho. I don't think we're going to sign Rafael Leao to replace Sancho. Maybe if we get the Qataris in, something big could happen in January, and we will get into some transfer news in just a second. Hojlund's been nominated for the 2023 Copper Trophy as well. Anana's been nominated for the Ballon d'Or Awards as well. A few little nominees come in. Hojlund and Garnacho have been nominated for the Golden Boy Awards as well. And Besiktas have signed Eric Bailly, and they're also looking to bring in Hannibal Mejbri on loan. In breaking news, Eric Bailly's move has officially gone through. But let's get into the transfer stories. Let's get into the other news that's coming out today. And then I'm going to answer a few live chats. And then we've got some discussions on the takeover. And then we're going to talk about the different ways that Ten Hag plans to line up this season to solve his right-wing options. But it was said today, Manchester United want to sign Santos striker Marcos Leonardo in January and are willing to pay more than 20 million euros plus 5 million as add-ons that Roma offered for the Brazilian this summer. Now, if we look at the source here, it's got 500,000 followers, but again, it's one of those less reliable sources, kind of like the Daily Mail of Italy. It's not a very good source. So although we've been linked to Marcos Leonardo, and although good sources confirmed they have an interest in Marcos Leonardo, I would take this story with a pinch of salt because I wouldn't be surprised if it's being planted to make sure Roma come back in for him in January, because Santos were going to sell this guy for about 20 million euros in the summer. But Santos are in a relegation battle, and this guy has contributed to, I think, 50% of Santos's goals. So Santos decided we're not going to sell the striker in the summer, but we're going to sell him in January. He wants to move to Europe. Roma are interested in the player. They obviously want a striker. They almost got Mason Greenwood, Roma. But, Roma really want a striker. So part of me goes, is this story being put out just because they want to make sure Roma are ready to go and get him in January and they don't think they can get him for cheaper, la-di-da. However, the United Muppeteers, credible sources, Simon Jones of the Mail, credible sources in the UK and Brazil did confirm United have an interest in the striker. But what are Manchester United people? What are we? We're monitoring FC. Well, we're Statements FC at the moment, but we are monitoring FC, and this was one of the many players that we were monitoring. Now, what I do know about this player and what was said on this player is Erik ten Hag went to the Manchester United board and he demanded that they signed a striker. He said, I'm not getting Greenwood back. You told me I was getting Greenwood back for about 2 months. I'm not getting Greenwood back. I want a striker. I want an attacker. And he also said, look, I'm open to selling Sancho, but they said he wouldn't get a replacement for Sancho. So Ten Hag went to the board. He demanded an attacking signing. United looked at, obviously, Marcos Leonardo. They looked at Yeremy Pino, who's a flexible winger. And obviously, they had to look at Ajax player Mohamed Kudus as well. Taremi was an option, but Manchester United never actually pursued Taremi. Giv Thorburn was a name on the list that I thought United should look at, but United never actively pursued. But the name most common on the list was Marcos Leonardo. He was a player that United were really interested in signing. If you don't know a lot about Marcos Leonardo, he almost mirrors Aguero. I watched a few games of him play. He almost mirrors Aguero in the kind of the way he plays, the impact. He's got that kind of Aguero build, and he's a very, very poacher striker. And I think him coming in alongside Rasmus Hojlund would be absolutely fantastic for United. And I do think it's one to keep an eye on in January. But the reason I'm not too interested in this story is, this is January transfer news. We are in September. I think in December, the January transfer news gets interesting because some top clubs actually get their January transfer business done in December. Liverpool got Gakpo done in December. Man City got Haaland. Dortmund got Haaland done in December, but Man United would obviously wait to January to get stuff done, January 31st. But I would wait till December to really give this story some attention. But for me, he is a great player. And I actually did a bit of a writing about Marcos Leonardo. I wonder what I said on him here. This is a little bit of stats on Marcos Leonardo. So a couple of weeks ago, I wrote this just for some context on him. So United were rumoured to hijack the Roma deal at the end of August. Now, Marcos Leonardo is 20 years of age and he got 7 goals and 1 assist in his last 6 games. He got 16 goals and 4 assists in 32 starts for Santos last season. He carried them that season. He reminds me a bit of Aguero from the very little I've seen. He looks technically good and good on the ball. He uses his physicality well and can play with his back to goal. He moves and has instincts of a natural goal scorer. He's 20 million euros could be a bargain when you consider Roque and Endrick were quoted at 70 million euros, the guys that Real Madrid were interested in. He also has 26 goals and assists in 37 games for Brazilian under-20s. With an experienced striker, while an experienced striker might be more needed due to Hojlund being young, there's no doubt in my mind that he could be a bargain signing. So that's a little bit of information there on Marcos Leonardo. And I've just realised that I am not sharing the right screen with you guys. I'm not sharing the right screen with you guys. This is what I said on Marcos Leonardo. Sorry, I thought I was reading that out on the screen, but I do think he mirrors Aguero. I do think that he would be a good signing as well for Manchester United as well. People are saying what's going to happen with Martial as well. Ney says that Facundo also works defensively well when tracking back, and that's Antony's only advantage is pressing and turnovers in the final third. I agree, and Ten Hag values work rate really highly, and Pellistri does that. So I think Ten Hag could take a liking to Pellistri, but he's not the traditional Ten Hag type of winger is as well. A lot of people saying they bring Marcos Leonardo in. Is there any other striker you potentially bring in January? Or play you potentially bring in January or not as well. I don't think I think if we do bring someone in January, it would be someone like Marcus Leonardo, but I do think budget's tight. Alex says, unless it's new owners, highly unlikely to do anything in January, plus infuriating talking about January when summer windows just closed. And I agree. I'm not too interested in talking about the January transfer window. I think if we sell a player, if we get a selling for Sancho, this is possible. But I think, if we have new owners in November, I'm really happy to talk about the January transfer window. But I think as of now, I've kind of ignored this story and sort of put it to one side because I don't think anyone's really interested in the January transfer window as well. But I do think that Marcus Leonardo is definitely a good young player as well. Alex Corsa is going to be a great player, and Santos are not doing good. That's why he wasn't allowed to go to Roma in the summer. They stopped the move. They stopped Roma getting him because Santos aren't doing well in the Brazilian league, and he contributes to about 45% of their goals. And at 20 years of age, they're so reliant on him as well. Leonardo, Orban, Santi Gimenez should be our main targets up front, says Danny B. And I think realistically, we could potentially get them in January. If the Saudi wants Sancho, we charge them 130 million. I will tell you this now: the Saudis are weighing up an offer for Jadon Sancho, but Sancho will not go to Saudi Arabia. He wouldn't last a second there. He won't go. I tell you that now. He will go somewhere in Europe. He wants to go back to Dortmund on loan. United aren't going to loan him back to Dortmund. I mean, look, even if he's causing problems in the dressing room, if we are stupid enough to loan Sancho, that's embarrassing. But then when Sancho's on 300k a week, we might have to loan him as well. You never know. But I'm going to get into the next story. I want to get up some things for you because there is quite a few interesting news stories coming out as well. He's like Suarez slash Romario. Yeah, I've not watched a whole lot of Marcus Leonardo, but he really reminds me a little bit of Aguero from what I've seen as well. And not the first time we're linked to him. Ten Hag scouted him. Could have had him for 13.5 million in January. Gone. Exactly. We could have had him last January. We were linked to him before the World Cup. I did a video in September last year, and I said United are looking at these two strikers, Gonzalo Ramos, who we weren't that familiar with a year ago, and obviously Marcus Leonardo. I said that United, as of last year, were looking at these two players, and that happened to be the case as well. He would benefit Garnacho. I mean, I think, he is an Aguero striker. He is young as well. Someone said Taremi short-term push. The fact that Taremi would have gone to Milan for £12 million and the plug was pulled on that, I did think that Taremi would have been a smarter option than Martial, just because Taremi's reliable in terms of injury. Because I like Martial, but like the difference that Hojlund made in those 10 minutes versus Arsenal, the difference Hojlund made just because he can run, just because he can move compared to Martial. We went up a level versus Arsenal and Hojlund came on because Hojlund can run, Hojlund can move, Hojlund can do this, Hojlund can do that, which Martial just was not offering. No disrespect to Martial. I get that Martial allows us to play Rashford left wing. I get that Martial can hold up the ball, but the energy and the movement from Hojlund, United already like a better side. And I feel like this season, one of the things that's letting us down, and this is again why I'm not Ten Hag out, is because we like playing with 10 men because we don't have the players. We didn't have Hojlund until that 10 minutes versus Arsenal. We have Johnny Evans. A lot of people are negative on Ten Hag, but there's a lot of ex-Man United players saying that Ten Hag needs to go. And I'm thinking, do you think Pep Guardiola is going to do much with this Man United squad of Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans at the back and Martial, who can't run anymore at the Emirates? I think it's all a lot of stuff as well. Man United making up FFP crap, they are. But anyway, I've got some stories to get into on the takeover. I want to talk a little bit about Manchester United's right-wing options going forward and sort of Ten Hag's new plan with Jadon Sancho on the way out. What kind of approach is Ten Hag going for? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you guys and sort of analyze Ten Hag's new plan and approach going into next season. And then we will talk about the takeover and some little bit of news on the Glazers. So obviously, Manchester United sort of playing more of a 4-3-3 this season than a 4-2-3-1. And obviously, if everyone is fit, I think that the plan seems to be like this. And I have to say, smash the like button if you agree with me. But shout out to Diego Dalot. Diego Dalot at left back has been very good. Diego Dalot and Wan-Bissaka haven't put a foot wrong this season. So shout out to our two fullbacks as well. But anyway, I think that, as good as Diego Dalot's been, the fact that Wan-Bissaka's getting a new contract, it shows that Ten Hag is really starting to see Wan-Bissaka as the first choice right back and Dalot is the second choice right back and second choice left back. United are also scouting a right back, and I might do a video on this tonight. I'm not sure. It depends if I can really be bothered because I've got lots to do tonight. But the United Muppeteers said that that Man United are already scouting 5 positions for next season, one of which being a right back, and maybe I'll talk about that tomorrow about what they are. But we know what Man United's plan is. It will probably look something like this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what Manchester United's plan is for the attack quickly. This is what I would do if everyone was fit here. So Man United have a plan for the attack, and it's very obvious that Hojlund is going to be the striker and Rashford will be the left winger. and the backup left wing will obviously be Garnacho. I think that is pretty much nailed down. But this is the right wing spot that's up for grabs. Manchester United have not commented really on the Antony situation and put out a nothing statement. But when Manchester United were asked today, so what's happening with Antony? Is Antony coming back? They declined to comment. They completely declined to comment on the situation. Sancho doesn't look to be having many chances. So here are the 4 things that United can do. So the 4 things United can do is option 1, which is what I would do. Play Facundo Pellistri, right wing, give him a run, and he works hard for the team. I think he could be like a Saka, Martinelli kind of player. Give him a run and he works hard for the team. He will do his bit. I think he will work well with Hojlund. Option 1 is play Facundo Pellistri. Now, option 2 is wait for Amad Diallo to be back from loan and play Amad Diallo. But I don't think Amad Diallo is a right winger. Okay, and people already thinking, what is Alice on about? Amad Diallo played in those half spaces for Sunderland. I watched Amad Diallo at Sunderland, and he played in those half spaces where he almost kind of operated as a right winger, but it was more of what you see Odegaard sometimes do for Arsenal. You know, Erik ten Hag likes a touchline winger. Erik ten Hag likes Antony because Antony goes like here and he stretches the width. Antony runs up and down like this and he completely stretches the width. Amad Diallo is not an Erik ten Hag winger. Okay, and this is the thing that worries me. As good as he is at Sunderland, he's not a touchline winger. Amad Diallo was good at Sunderland because he almost played as a right-sided number 10, who almost played in those half spaces. There's a little bit of Odegaard, a little bit of João Felix in those half spaces. He played in these right half spaces kind of here. So, you know, unless ten Hag wants his left winger out wide and Amad Diallo here, that's the only question mark about playing Amad right wing. I think Amad would actually be best as a 10. I think in ten Hag's system, Amad would best be utilised as a number 10 just because that's what made him thrive so much at Sunderland. But he definitely has the ability to play as a right winger, but he doesn't have that splitting pace that maybe ten Hag likes. But there's no doubt in my mind, you know, Amad could play right wing for United. I'm not saying he couldn't play right wing for United, but I'm saying that you get the best out of Amad when he's almost sort of between the right wing and between a 10. He's almost like a right-sided number 10, if that makes sense, rather than a touchline winger, which is what Antony does for United. So there is definitely potential for Amad Diallo to get a run in when he's back from injury next month. Amad Diallo actually, I think, isn't back till end of November. So really 2 months until we even see Amad Diallo, which is a little bit annoying. Now, what are the other options? Well, the third option is something that I would try, and that is Garnacho at right wing. And people, I saw a few of you comment this, like, why Garnacho at right wing, Alice? Well, this is the thing. Rashford is better than Garnacho. And I've stuck with this principle, you don't move your best player out of position. Saka is Arsenal's best winger. Okay, let's say Emile Smith-Rowe was better on the right wing than the left wing. Would Arteta play Saka on the left wing so we could play Emile Smith-Rowe on the right wing? No, he wouldn't. Okay, he wouldn't. I love Garnacho. Garnacho is going to be better on the left wing. But if we're going to play Rashford, Garnacho, Hojlund as a front three, you move Garnacho onto the right wing because we know that Rashford's crap on the left wing and we know that Rashford is the better of the 2 players, so he keeps his position. That's the one thing that frustrates me with ten Hag, as I said earlier. Bruno is better at the number 10 role than Mount, so Bruno should keep his position as the number 10 and Mount should be moved to the right wing. The player that is the best player in that position should play in that position, and the other player that's fighting them has to play in the other position. And because we saw it versus Arsenal, Rashford, Garnacho, Hojlund, front three at the end of the game, it worked very well. Potentially, I think ten Hag will try this. I think he'll play Garnacho on the left and Rashford on the right, but I'd actually give Garnacho a run on the right, which a lot of people won't like. But it's just a principle of I think you should play your best player in the best position and see what Garnacho does on the right-hand side. It might be good for him. So I think that we will see this front three play out a little bit with the absences going on, just for really the pure sense of, you know, they were playing really well versus Arsenal. So now we're going to get into the things that we will likely see that I won't like. And I'm going to be honest, I don't like the idea of playing Bruno out wide. I mean, if it's going to be Bruno and Mount out wide, I would play Mason Mount out wide. But yeah, Garnacho gets it behind and cuts back. Right wing might not work for him, just like Rashford. Look, that's what I'm saying. Right wing might not work for Garnacho because, again, he's a bit like Rashford. But we know it doesn't work for Rashford. We might as well try it on Garnacho as well. Pellistri would be my first choice right winger. If you've just joined, scroll back 5 minutes when I was talking about Pellistri and Amad as well. And we might as well try Mount right wing when he comes back. He does not have the physicality as a PL8 in our current midfield exactly. And I think if we're going to play Amrabat, I think we should play Amrabat next to Casemiro because I think that gets the best out of Casemiro and Bruno as a 10 and Mount out wide as well. Scott says, very good at analysing. Thank you very much, Scott. And someone says, peace and love, Lady Alice. Thank you very much as well. But continuing on as well, let's get into this situation a little bit more. So what I don't mind Man United doing is Mount out wide. We're not playing Bruno out wide to accommodate Mason Mount. Bruno is better than Mason Mount. I don't mind Man United trying Mason Mount out wide because Mason Mount played out wide multiple times for Chelsea. Mason Mount has experience playing out wide for Chelsea. So I don't have a big problem or big issue with Man United trying to play Mason Mount out wide. So potentially Man United could go, you know what, Mount's going to be our right winger here, and that's what we're going to do. The problem is, this is what I think we'll do. We'll play right now because Mount is injured. I think we'll come back from the international break, and if Antony and Sancho aren't available, I think we'll do this. And this, I'm sorry, this is the last thing I want to see. I love you, Ten Hag, but this is the last thing I want to see, okay? It is. I think you will probably end up playing Bruno on the right, and or something like this when Mount is back, you know. But for me, that's the last thing I want to see. If I have it my way, it is Bruno here, and then we'll give Pellistri a run in at right wing. Yeah, we sometimes bring on Garnacho right wing and see if it works, but Garnacho will mostly be an impact sub for Rashford because Garnacho is fantastic off the bench. We mostly play Pellistri right wing. We give Mount a go at right wing if Pellistri's not showing, and then by the time we've trialled Pellistri and Mount, we give Amad Diallo a go at right wing. We've also got Garnacho to play right wing, and at the way we're going, we might as well stick Shea Lacey in at right wing. That was a joke, but he is a great youngster. Shea Lacey and Amit Ibrahimovic, I can't say his name, keep fumbling it. Those two youngsters, watch out. I said on this channel, scroll back to a video I did 2 years ago. I said Alejandro Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo. 2 years ago, I said Alejandro Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo. They won't break him for at least another year. They're too young. I said 2 years ago. But I said those two players from the youth. I said this because we were in the Youth Cup final. I said 2 years ago, Alejandro Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo. Watch them. Who are the best two youngsters we've got? Alejandro Garnacho, Kobbie Mainoo. Tell you this now, Shea Lacey, give it 2 years. Amir Ibrahimovic, however you say his name, those two, watch them. But for me, I think this is probably what I would do with Manchester United going forward. I'm interested to know your thoughts. I've maybe give Mason Mount a trial there, but this is what I want to see. And the reason I want to see this, and I put this in my tweet earlier, is I generally believe that Hojlund's box presence will be really good. And I think someone like Pellistri, who I said is more of a player that likes to take on his left back one-on-one, get past them on the byline and put a cross in. He's an old-fashioned winger, Pellistri. He's a right footer that plays on the right wing to get past this player on the byline, put a cross in with Hojlund, a focal point, with Hojlund, a box presence. I think that Pellistri would be quite good to give a run out and try. And as I said, Arteta gave the youngsters a try at Arsenal and it worked really well as well. People said try the low right wing. I know that actually we've tried the low right wing under Ollie, but for me, the low right wing. First choice is Pellistri. Second choice is Mount / Diallo. Third choice is Bruno. Obviously, there's Sancho and Antony, but I'm saying if we don't have Sancho and Antony, third choice is Bruno. The fourth choice is Delo. For me, I'd rather see Bruno right wing than Delo, and that's saying a lot. I just don't think Delo's going to work right wing as well. Mount is Bruno backup, and I think Mount should be Bruno backup. I'd like to see Casemiro, Amrabat, Bruno midfield three. Like, no disrespect to Mason Mount, but for me, he's a Bruno backup. And someone said, Monday says Antonio Silva. Oh, we will talk about this. Because Manchester United already have 5 positions lined up for next summer. Right wing, right back, right centre back, DM and striker. They're the 5 positions United have got lined up for next summer. And the interesting thing about that is right centre-back seems to be the number 1 priority. And Antonio Silva and Demonde, they seem to be at the top of the list. So we will talk about them a little bit nearer the time. But I feel like I don't really want to be talking about next summer's transfer targets when we've got to wait at least 10 months. And I say we've got to wait at least 10 months. If we were a proper club, we'd have to wait 9 to 10 months at least, because 9 months from now would be June. If we're a proper club, we wait 9 months. Man United would get this guy at the end of August. So for us getting a centre-back, every other club can wait till June. We'd probably have to wait till August to even sign the player. So great young players that we've been linked to. But again, not players I'm super interested in talking to at the moment. Forson is 4th choice. I don't really rate Forson as well. Tried De Gea right wing. Well, he's without a club. I think Jesse Lingard's going back to West Ham now. Someone said, Alice, would you take Jesse Lingard back? And I just think, no, you can't take Jesse Lingard back. Personally, I wouldn't take Jesse Lingard back. Nick says for Brighton, Anana, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Martinez, Deloy, Casemiro, Amrabat, Pellistri, Bruno, Rashford, Hojlund. I agree. Out of everyone that's fit, that's what we've got to do. I don't think anyone else will be fit, and I would really like to see that squad. And I think that squad could cook Brighton. I say that and probably bloody lose. I'm actually worried about that Brighton game. They're not an easy team to beat. They beat Newcastle, and I think Newcastle have got a brilliant squad as well. Alice, do you think Sancho will go to Saudi? No. Alice, we need to get rid of the poisonous bad eggs in the dressing room before bringing in new guys. I agree. Ten Hag wants to do that. Ten Hag wants to get rid of the bad eggs in the dressing room. Ten Hag wants to get rid of the poisonous players. The problem is the board aren't always willing to back Ten Hag. Ten Hag wants to get rid of this player and that player. The board say to Ten Hag, well, you can get rid of this player. Oh, you can get rid of that player. You can get rid of this player. You can get rid of that player. But actually, we can't guarantee you a replacement. So then Ten Hag's like, well, why am I going to get rid of this player that I don't want? If I can't get a replacement, then I've got no one. Then I'm completely screwed. It's that whole kind of situation as well at Man United. Brighton have Ansu Fati too. You have to give it to Brighton. Brighton have had one of the best transfer winners. To get Ansu Fati in, just absolutely well. Wow, fair play to Brighton there as well. And someone said, strange really, Pellistri Ahmad as right wing looks more exciting than Antony, says Sancho. I agree. Two hungry young players, no egos, constantly desperate to impress Ten Hag. Absolutely agree as well. And play needs to evolve massively. It's long ball FC, not much room to grow playing like this as well. 100% agree. I like Ten Hag, but our style of play needs to improve. I think a little bit it comes down to injuries and all of that. I think Amrabat coming in is going to add that much needed balance in the midfield. And hopefully we do sort of see that play style. I think, Ten Hag, had he had Kim Min-jae, had he had Harry Kane on top of Hojlund, had he had Amrabat earlier, maybe we would have seen a different United. But it's interesting to see that United Muppeteers were reporting yesterday that United are already weighing up right-wing options for the summer. Antony's Ten Hag signing, there's always reports that it feels like Ten Hag seems to absolutely love Antony and all of that, but actually there's reports going on that Antony isn't as loved by Ten Hag as people think he is, and that Ten Hag's open to signing another right winger to replace Antony next summer because he's not been super impressive. Now, there's one more story coming out on United, then we will talk a little bit about the takeover, and that is that apparently Manchester United have registered an interest in João Palhinha and could move for the midfielder in January. And this has come out from The Athletic. This has come out from a really, really credible source in The Athletic. So there's no doubt in my mind that I believe United have interest in João Palhinha. I think that obviously, they'd probably let McTominay go the other way. However, reportedly, the reason that João Palhinha didn't go to Bayern is because McTominay told them that he's not going. Apparently, Fulham approached Scott McTominay. Fulham went to Scott McTominay and all of that stuff. And apparently Scott McTominay said no to Fulham. Apparently it was Scott McTominay who literally went and turned down Fulham, which I find a little bit surprising there. I thought he would want more game time than that. So some people suggest we could do a swap deal, Palhinha, McTominay in January. But McTominay, from what I heard, would have moved to Fulham if he had said yes to Fulham, because Fulham were more than ready to let Palhinha go to Bayern and replace him with McTominay. And Ten Hag reportedly given McTominay the green light to go. So that was interesting. But there's no doubt in my mind United looking at another DM as a long-term successor to, of course, Casemiro. Yes, Amrabat's come in on a temporary deal, but I think, Amrabat is almost a successor to Casemiro, but I think Amrabat will be seen as someone that's going to always play next to the DM. There's no doubt in my mind that United are actually looking at an out-and-out long-term successor to Casemiro. And we'll have to see who that is, that out-and-out long-term successor to Casemiro, but they are looking at a few names, and João Palhinha is reportedly one of them. But again, I don't see much happening. Maybe if you get the Qataris in the summer, by November, maybe we make a move for Palhinha. Maybe we make a move for Marcus Leonardo. Maybe if the Qataris come in, Man United do make moves for these players. But again, I can't see it happening as well. Someone said, Alice, who are your sources? I follow every tier 1 journalist, and there's some tier 2 and 3. I'd never heard of that. Well, this is from The Athletic, this story, and the story that McTominay rejected Fulham, I think might have come from Romano. Let me have a look. McTominay, Fulham. Apparently McTominay rejected Fulham's offer, and I think that came from Romano as well. Romano said Fulham tried a last-minute deal for Scott McTominay, but there was no deal on the player side. McTominay wasn't interested in going to Fulham. United were open to selling him, so that is who the sources are from that case as well. So everything I say, I sometimes I don't say who the sources are because I can't quite remember it, but when I say information, I'm not just making up that McTominay wasn't interested in going to Fulham. Like I've read it somewhere. I read stories on United day in, day out. I read articles all the time. It's my job. So I remember loads of things from loads of different stories, but I can't always remember who said it. So sometimes when I say something, I can't quite remember the source, but as I've just looked it up, it was Romano. I did think it was Romano. So that is the source. So do apologise for not quoting the source as well. But Palhinha is overpriced right now. How much was the agreement with Bayern? Can someone put in the chat how much the agreement was with Palhinha and Bayern as well? Amrabat is the needed help for Casemiro, exactly. And there could be some players out of contract in European leagues that may be brought in, perhaps. I mean, one of the people sort of reported to United, and people that one of the names that people were suggesting United went for was obviously Sergio Ramos. Now, look, if it was Sergio Ramos or Johnny Evans, who would I take? Of course, I would be taking Sergio Ramos over Johnny Evans every day of the week. I'm not the biggest fan of United bringing in Sergio Ramos, but Sergio Ramos or Johnny Evans, yeah, Sergio Ramos. But what I really liked about Sergio Ramos is he could have gone to Saudi Arabia for 12 million a year, and he's gone to Sevilla for 1 million a year. That shows that Ramos had the right attitude. He wanted to go back to Spain. He wanted to play for Sevilla, where he started his club. And you've got to give Ramos a lot of credit to that. He's like, well, I've made loads of money at Real Madrid and PSG. Like, I don't need that extra money going to Saudi Arabia. I'm going to get 1 million a year at Sevilla anyway, and I'm going to be in my home country close to my family, which, you've got to give that to Sergio Ramos. But he was a free agent that United could have got. And again, I never really wanted us to get Sergio Ramos, but had I known we were going to end up with Johnny Evans and I had to choose between Johnny Evans and Sergio Ramos, I think we all know I'd be choosing Sergio Ramos. I think we all would be choosing Sergio Ramos over Johnny Evans because, let's be honest, no disrespect to Johnny Evans, but he shouldn't be playing for Manchester United right now. He shouldn't have been given a 1-year deal. It makes our club look embarrassing. It makes our club look even more like a banter club. It does. Johnny Evans playing away at the Emirates. For me, that is comical from Manchester United. And look, I'm going to say something actually, and I don't know what you guys were thinking on this, but it really annoyed me that Martinez is on international break. Is anyone else a little bit annoyed that Lisandro Martinez is on international break? Just because I think he came off versus Arsenal injured, and I get it was a precautionary, and I think it's better to take off players as a precautionary as well. It's better not to risk him as well. But again, this is what Leonardo said on Martinez. It's not necessary that we risk him. In any case, if he's available, we'll evaluate whether to use him or not. At first, tomorrow's match, it could be a little rush. So there's a slight injury to Martinez, but he's still got an international break, and they're debating whether using him or not. But I think the fact that there's a slight injury to Martinez, that he'll probably be fine. If I'm Ten Hag, I don't let Martinez go on international break. I say, you came off versus Arsenal with 20 minutes to go, and I had to bring on Johnny bloody Evans and Harry Maguire because you came off versus Arsenal. I don't want you going on the international break and making this injury worse. If I'm Erik Ten Hag, I would have stopped Martinez going on international break. I generally would have. I would have done what Fergie done and said, no, I don't care that you can probably play on this injury. I don't want you to risk making this any worse. We've got Johnny Evans, we've got Maguire, I've got Varane injured. If I'm Ten Hag, I don't let Martinez go on international break. And I was a bit annoyed to see pictures of Martinez smiling on international break. And I get why we took him off versus Arsenal. If there was an injury, we don't want to risk making it any worse because Varane's out for a while. We want to take him off, so he's only going to be out for a couple of days. But I don't think he should be going international break. And maybe I'm being harsh and stuff, but for me, I don't think Fergie would have ever allowed this guy to go on international break if he's coming off versus the Emirates, if he's carrying quite a bit of an injury. I don't think Fergie would allow that. So personally, not big fan of that as well. McTominay to score into England tomorrow. If McTominay is used in the right position and utilised properly, McTominay has a good game every now and then. 70 million euros, so that's about 58 million pounds. That is quite pricey for Palhinha. But then when you look at what other players are going on for in the market, Lavia was more than that. It's probably not too bad with the way the current market is in midfield. It just highlights how good. Casemiro deal is. Not Casemiro. Amrabat. We get Amrabat on a permanent, it's 25 million euros, and Palhinha's 65 million euros, so about 55 million pounds, which that's crazy. But then Lavia was 60 million, Declan Rice was 105 million, Enzo Fernandez was 105 million. The money being spent, Moise Caicedo 110 million was absolutely crazy. Big up Mick in the chat. Good evening, Alice. Scott was on Fulham, but it fell through due to Palhinha. I was involved in negotiations, says MUFC Realist. And Martin is okay. Apparently he felt something in his foot. That was an operation on and was cleared by United before he left. Hopefully he's absolutely fine, but I don't want to risk any more players getting injured. For me, you've got to, everybody, let's take a moment to pray that no more players get injured in the international break. Let's take a minute to pray that no more players get injured in the international break. I don't want to see any more injuries, United. I don't want to be injury FC any longer. Please, Manchester United, please, the gods out there, do not let a Manchester United player get injured on the international break. We've had to suffer through Johnny Evans and Maguire. We had to watch Garnacho's goal be ruled out at the Emirates. We've still got the Glazers as our owners. We have suffered enough. Please do not let one of our players get injured. I'm not religious, but I pray to any kind of God out there, do not let one of our players get injured, because I can't. And if it is one of our players that gets injured, and I don't want any of our players to get injured, but make it a shit one. Make it a bad one. Make it someone that we're not going to use. Make it Donny van der Beek. No, don't wish that on Donny. But do you know what I mean? Like, just make it someone we're not going to play if we're going to injure a player, because I'm not dealing with injuries as well. People saying Amrabat's injured. Amrabat apparently isn't injured as well. Diego says don't jinx it. Oh no, this is when I'm jinxing it. There are reports and rumours that Amrabat's injured and all of that, but as far as I'm aware, Amrabat is not injured. It's all reports, it's all rumours. From what I'm hearing, Amrabat is completely and absolutely fine and is not carrying an injury. Apparently he was just at United, he's going on international duty, he just needs to get back to full match fitness. But anyway, guys, I've got to go because I have football training at 7:30, so I've got to get ready and end the live stream. But I want to thank everyone for watching today's live stream. Please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video. It was a big live stream. Good to see everybody in the chat. Got to touch wood now. Yeah, no injuries, please. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. See you next time, and bye.